It's time for Tweeple, and many of you still can't stop talking about the lack of Oscar love for Selma's actors and directors on MLK's birthday, no less, and the lack of diversity in the Academy Award nominations overall. The hashtag #OscarsSoWhite is still trending at a rate of more than 95,000 tweets per hour. The hashtag took off on Black Twitter and then went viral, sparking epically hilarious and biting tweets like this. #OscarsSoWhite, Macklemore and Iggy Azalea have been asked to host. Oscar's so white that the statue counts as a person of color. Oscar's so white, they want to date me to anger their father. And not to be outdone, Oscar's so white, they asked to touch my hair. Even late night host Jimmy Fallon couldn't resist the setup, tweeting, this year's Oscar nominees are so white, they just became the front runner for the 2016 Republican nomination. Tip your waiters, everybody. And joining me now is the woman who launched the Oscar's so white hashtag and author of one of the aforementioned hilarious tweets, April Reid. April, thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure, thank you.
Well, you should be a comedy writer because I think you wrote the ultimate great setup for just a million wonderful tweets. We just picked out a few of them. Have you been surprised by the voluminous response?
Absolutely. It took off like wildfire, and like many things do on Twitter, it went viral, but I had no idea that when I wrote that first tweet yesterday morning that it was going to be as pervasive as it has been.
Yeah, and April, I mentioned that this did take off on Black Twitter initially, as so many trends do emerge from the sort of world of Black Twitter. Why do you suppose there is so much angst about this situation with Selma? I mean, 12 Years a Slave last year was multiply honored. Why do you suppose people have such strong feelings about the nominations this year?
Well, I'm not sure that it's just about Selma. I think it's about representation of people of color in general and the lack of diversity and inclusion that we've seen with the Academy Awards in its entire history. Selma is one example, but we also have Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who was fantastic in Belle, who was snubbed. We have the Best Cinematographer, perhaps, nomination. Mr. Young for Selma was not nominated, and so I think that there is a pushback on the lack of diversity and inclusion overall within film.
Well, what do you think about the fact that, right now, the head of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is a woman of color, is Cheryl Boone Isaacs. She was installed in 2013. Yes. But at the same time, she's the only member of the 14-member board who is an African American, and she's only one of 14 women. So is this a Hollywood kind of representation problem that goes beyond the Academy Awards, or is it just a Hollywood problem?
It's definitely a problem that is pervasive throughout society. We have Ms. Cheryl Boone Isaacs at the head, but the Academy, as we know, is 93% male, 76% white, and the average age is approximately 62 years old. So it's sort of the Obama effect, if you will. We've got a person of color at the head, but just as President Obama has to deal with Congress and can't make sweeping changes that people may like, Ms. Boone Isaacs can't do the same because the Academy has to make those decisions. And in fact, neither representative organization, either Congress or the Academy, have any motivation or incentive to change the status quo and make the Academy more inclusive.
Well, does it also have to do with kind of the new, I guess you could say sort of the new economy of the movie industry, right? You have big blockbusters are fewer and farther between, and you have competitive forces like Netflix and Amazon Prime where sort of smaller, artier films can get made. Is that a kind of a system that can foster more African-American filmmakers and more opportunities to make, because you have to make not just a movie, but a very artful, sort of high art film to be nominated for an Oscar?
Absolutely. Well, I hope that that's going to be the case. So we know that recently Spike Lee went to crowdsourcing for his latest movie. And so, unfortunately, people of color all too often are having to make films on their own because, once again, the studio executives, the heads, the people that greenlight the films are not of color and are not wanting to tell the stories of people of color. And so then we are having to be forced to go outside to find other ways to make films and to share our history, to share the nuance of our lives.
All right. Well, April Reid, the creator of the #OscarsSoWhite hashtag, congratulations on a very successful hashtag and very important points you made. Hopefully the Academy is listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And by the way, President Obama will host a Selma screening at the White House this evening with the film's cast and crew invited, including director Ava DuVernay, actor David Oyelowo, and of course, course, Oprah Winfrey. And you can join the conversation with fellow Reid Report fans on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and MSNBC.